everyone, welcome back. I'm Sakshi Kesharwal and I'm maths expert in askIITians. So today I'll be teaching you the second part of ratio and proportion, that is what is a proportion. So I think so I have showed you in the last class the video what are the ratios and what are the proportions, right? So in the video we have seen what are the proportions. Actually the proportions are what basically the two equivalent ratios, right? So we have done what are the ratios in the last class, right? If you want to do the comparison of any of the two parts, you can always just do the ratio, right? So like if you're going to divide like a sandwich between the two people, so it's like one part will be mine and the other part will be of my sister. So I'm sharing like my share is like one, and like I'm dividing like my sandwich into two parts, like so 1/2 is my part and 1/2 is my sister part, right? So what is the ratio? The ratio is what, like 1:2. So we did in the last class. That's definitely we have done. So we have done about the proportion. I think so little bit we have done. So proportions are, again I'm saying the proportions are what, beta? Equivalent fractions, right? These are, sorry, my bad, equivalent ratios, right? So proportions are what, beta? Equivalent ratios, right? So when two equivalent ratios are there, then we say that they are in the proportion, right? So equivalent, as we say that equivalent ratios are equal, so they're in proportion. So when we take like, let's start with it, and there are many things, there are many questions in it. So we'll learn how to write the proportion, right? We did ratio, so how you're going to write what are the proportions and what are the things in it, right? So let's start with it. So here we will be dealing with ratio and proportion. So what are the topics that we will be covering over here? We'll be covering that what are the proportions, introductions to rate, unitary method, solving proportion, and inverse proportion. See, inverse proportion and introduction to rate are not the part of your curriculum, right? But the proportion is a part of your curriculum. So please try to understand the proportion very properly, because what happened in your many of your Olympiads or many of your competition or in your school examination, if the concept of the proportions is not clear, then it is sometimes very difficult for the student to get the answer, right? They get confusion. So you study the ratio and proportion in class 6, and the same thing you study in the class 8. There will be like a little bit you will be learning like direct and inverse proportions. So here I'll be giving you what are the direct proportions and what are the indirect proportions, a little bit basics of it, but the more of the part you will be studying in the class 8, right? So but you will know what is the basics of it, right? So basically the proportions are what, beta? We have learned what are the proportions. Proportions are like basically the two equivalent fractions, right? Proportions are what, beta? Two equivalent ratios, like two equivalent, not fractions, but equivalent ratios. Equivalent ratios, right? Two equivalent ratios. So proportions are what, beta? Two equivalent ratios that we have learned. So if I say like 4/8, and if I'll write like 1/2, see, so this can be like transposed to what, or it can be written as 1/2, and this is what, 1/2. This is 1/2, right? So can I write this as 1/2, and this also I can write this as what, 1/2. So they are what, beta? Equal. So can I say that now? I say that 4/8 is equals to what, 1/2, right? So these are in the proportion. They are in proportion. They are in proportion, right? They are in proportion. So if you see this, there are four quantities. I'll taking just minimum of four quantities. You can take more of it, right? So if I write like 4/8 is equals to 1/2 is equals to 6/12 is equals to 12/24. These are what? All of them are what? Basically are in the proportion. But what happened? We take like two equivalent ones at a time. We are going to take any two. I'm going to take this two or these two or these two. You can take any of it, right? So just will be taking considering once, like one we are going to write about the proportion, there should be like two equal ratios, right? So two equivalent ratios. So you see that there are four quantities. So how we are going to write it down? If I say like 4/8 is equals to 1/2, or can I say that 4/8 is equals to like 1/2? So how this equal to sign is being represented? We say this is 4/8 is in proportion with 1/2. This is the symbol of writing in the proportion. This is a symbol for what, beta? Proportion, right? This is what symbol for proportion, right? Now there are four quantities. Now how what is called as generalization? If we do the generalization of it, right? What is the generalization? If I write that is A by B is equals to what, beta? C by D, right? They are in proportion. They are in proportion. If I say they are in proportion means what? These two are what? Equivalent ratios. These are what? Two equivalent ratios, right? They are in proportion. They are what beta? Equivalent ratios, right? Now, see, there are four quantities. See, this one and this one are like, if I write like this, A ratio B is in proportion with C ratio D. Now you see that these two values are said to be what? Like the first and the last part are said to be what beta? Extremes. These are said to be what beta? Extremes, right? These are said to be what beta? Extremes, and the middle one are said to be what beta? Means. This is said to be what beta means. Now see one thing very carefully. I just want to highlight this thing. Just see that if you are like over here, if you want to do the comparison, right? So what will be your A? On comparing, A will be 4, B is equals to what? 8, C is equals to 1, and D is equals to what beta? 2. What are your extremes over here? Your extremes will be what? Your extreme is equals to what? 4 and 2. And what are your means? Your means is equals to what beta? 8 and 1, right? Now see one thing. Now, if you're going to do the product of the extremes, now you see this, the product of extreme. Your product of extremes is how much beta? Product of extremes is equals to how much beta? 4 into 2, which is equals to what? Right? Now, take this also as this, the product of means. What are the product of means? Now, product of means is equals to what? 8 into 1, which is equals to 8. Now, you see that both the quantities are equal. So here we get the result. If the four quantity are in the proportion, then you always check that the product of the means is equals to the product of the extremes, right? So what is the result we got? The result is that product of means is equals to what beta? Product of extremes. This is your result, right? This is about the proportion, right? Okay, now see this over here. If I say sure, if I give you one question, one question, okay, it says that test whether the ratios 3:4 and 12:16 are in proportion. This is your first question. So if I give you this question, so what you will be going with? What will be your solution? So your solution is going to be what? Now, there are like, this is what? 3:4, and this is what equals to what? 12:16. What are you? We know that if they are in proportion means what? The product of means what? Product of means is equals to what beta? Product of extremes? Yes or no? Product of extremes? Yes or no? Extremes. So what are your product? What are your means and extremes? Like, what are your means? Your means will be what? You write it like this. If you get confusion, you write it. So extremes are these two, right? So means are what? Means are what? Basically 4 and 12. And extremes are what beta? Extremes are like the last ones. So extremes are what? 3 and 16, right? So what you do? You multiply. So 4 into 12 is equals to what? 3 into 16? Yes. 48 is equals to 48. So yes, they are in proportion, right? So this is one of the question. Now, if I say find x, right? So if I say, I'll write the next question over here. I have a slide. If I say, if the terms 6, 8, and 24 are in proportion. It said that it is in proportion, like proportion, right? It is in proportion. Okay, are in proportion. Then find the third proportion, like find the third proportion. Third means what? It's asking about the third number, right? Third proportion, right? Third proportion, right? So how you're going to write this? Find the third proportion, right? Find the third proportion means what? It says that 6:8. This is your solution, right? So it is what? 6:8 is in the proportion with x ratio 24, right? So what are your means, beta? Your means are beta 8 and 6, 8 and x, right? And what are your extremes? Your extremes are what? 6 and 24, right? So we know that if they are in the proportion, then we say that the product of means, that is product of means, is equals to what beta? Product of extremes. Yes. So product of means is what? 8 into x is equals to what? 6 into 24. Right. So it means what? We have learned this in like in algebra. So this is equals to what? 8 into x. Now 8 is in what? In the division multiplication. So it will go in the division. So it will be what? 8x is equals to 6 into 24 divided by 8, which is equals to 3. And then x is equals to what? X is equals to 18. That's it. That's your answer. Right. Yes. Okay, now coming to what you mean by introduction to rates. Introduction to rates is what you do the comparison. See over here. If you see this, introduction to rates, what are the rates? It says that rate is the ratio between the two related quantities in the different unit. As we have done till now, the ratios are basically what we do the comparison in the same unit, right? Comparing of the length and length, right? Comparing of grams like weight and weight, comparing the like liters like volume and volume, area and area, right? So we do the comparison of the same unit, but what is the rate? You do the comparison of the two different units, right? So rate is the ratio between the two related quantities in the different unit. In describing the units of the rate, the word per is used to separate the unit of the two measurements, right? So if you say like you are traveling, what is the speed? You say the speed is like 72 kilometers per hour. So there are two units. You're doing the comparison. What do you mean by 72 kilometers per hour? That in 1 hour you are traveling how much distance? You're traveling 75 kilometers. So you are comparing. So you say 75 kilometers per. Per means what? You're comparing the distance with the time. That's the per, right? That's the per. So this is a very common thing which you hear in the day to life, is to separate the units of the two measurement used to calculate the rate. For the example, like the heartbeat, right? Beats per minute, right or not? That's heartbeats per minute. So comparing the beats with the time, right? So beats per minute. So per is used to separate it, right? So per is used to what? Do separation. So over here you just see the examples over here. So what are the examples we have? We have see over here, we need to you need to able to compare the quantities that have different units. It says that 4 teaspoons of a coffee and 2 mugs of a water. So you have see like it says that to 4 teaspoons of a coffee ratio 2 mugs of a water, right? So it says that in 4 teaspoons, like 4 teaspoons of coffees, and you require 2 mugs of water. That's see, this ratios is also used in like when you do cooking. Have you seen some cooking stuff or not? So you see that they take 1 teaspoon of this and then they do this stuff. You can ask your mother, this they do in day-to-day life. I just forgot it, but yes, this is very much used into day-to-day life. You see that when she start cooking, when she cooks like let us suppose you want to make a rice. So what is the ratio? I know this ratio because I use this in my day-to-day life. If I'm going to make a 1 glass of a rice, then I take 2 glass of a water to cook it properly. So what is the ratio? The ratio of the rice and the water is how much? It's 1:2 or not, right? So if I'm going to take 2 glass of the rices, then how much glass of the water is required? 4 glass of the water is required. So it's like this. So if you're going to take 1 cup of a detergent, 5 liters of water are required, right? 6 small buttons, 8 large buttons, right? 90 kilometers ratio 2 hours. It means what? You are traveling 90 kilometers in 2 hours, right? You are using 6 button when there is a 8 button, right? So how you, as you have seen, the rate is what? The comparison of unlike quantities, right? Two unlike quantities. The most commonly used is the speed, which we use to compare the distance. So it says that 20 kg on ratio 2 hours, it is equals to what beta? 10 kilometers in 1 hour. That is what beta? 10 kilometers per hour. So what you do, it's like that. Generally, we do how we write this per thing. It says that 4:2. I use, wait a minute, this black color has some problem with it. When I use a black color, then hold on. Yeah. See, it says that 4:2, right? 4:2. It says that. Now, it says that 4 teaspoons of a coffee to the 4 cups of a water. So, what you will be writing now, what you do, you make this as equivalent ratios and try to make the denominator as 1. Try to make the denominator as 1. So, if you're going to make the denominator as 1, so it is what? 4/2 divide by 2 and divide by 2, right? So, this is equals to what? 4:1, right? So, this can be written as what? 2 teaspoons of coffee per mug of water, right? We say this 2 teaspoon. This is what? 2 teaspoon Per, you write per, you use the symbol this or per, per mug of water, per mug of water, right? So what do you mean by this? Ki one mug of water, you require 2 teaspoons of coffee. This is what it means, right? So it says that 90 kilometers in 2 hours. So it means what? 90 upon 2. So divide by this 2 and divide by this 2, right? So this is equals to what? 45 upon 1, right? So what is, how we are going to write this? We are going to write this as 45 kilometer per hour, or you can write this as 45 kilometer per hour. Choice is yours. So what we did, we made the unit in which we want to compare, we made this as unit as 1. So if you want to compare this hour by kilometer, so what you do, you make the kilometer as unit 1, you divide by 90 on both the side, right? So choice is yours, you can do in either of the way. So I think so this is very much clear, right? Now, coming to the one question, what the question says that express each of the following as a rate in the simplest form. So, what is the first part? Says that a woman travels 210 kilometers in 3 hours, right? So, it's traveling 210 kilometers in 3 hours, right? So, in 1 hour, how much she will be traveling? 1 hour, she will be traveling how much, beta? 210 divided by 3 kilometers. Yes, so this is equals to what? So how you're going to write the rate? Rate is equals to what, beta? This is equals to what? 70 kilometer per hour or not? Yes, or you can do this as what? 210 divided by 3. So you make this as divide by 3, divide by 3, which is equals to what, beta? 70. And I'm writing this as kilometer and this one as hour, right? So this is what? 70 kilometer per hour. We will write like this. What is the B part? The B part says that 50 sheep grazed on 200 hectares. So what you can do that, so this will be what, beta? 500 sheep, right? Divided by what, beta? 200 hectares, right? Hectare. So what you'll be doing? Divided by 200, divided by what? 200, right or not? So this is equals to what? 500 divided by 200 will be what? 2.5, right or not? So this is will be what? 2.5 sheep per hectare or not, right? So एक hectare में, like in a 1 hectare, how many sheep is going to graze it? 2.5 sheep are going to graze 1 hectare of the land, right? So this is how, what is the rate is, right? Now it says that are these on the proportion, right? So you can just see, you can do by seeing it manually, because if you write this as 4 by 5 and if you write this as 8 by 10, so if you do the calculation, divide by 2, divide by 2, this is equals to what? Again 4 by 5. So they're equal in ratio, so they're in proportion, right? But we have to do like, see, you have to think in all the respective, right? You can think like these are in the proportion, they're two equivalent ratios, then they're in proportion. You can just by looking also, you can say yes, they're in equivalent ratios, so they're in proportion. That's it. But how are you going to show this, right? How are you going to do? So what are your means? Like if you say what are your means, so your means will be what? These and these will be your means. So it will be 5 and 8. And what are your extremes? Your extremes are this equals to 4 and 10, right? So we know that for the proportion, that is product of means is equals to what? Product of extremes, right or not? Product of extremes, right? So this is equals to product of means is equals to 5 into 8, 4 into 10, which is equals to 40 is equals to 40. So yes, it's a big yes, they are in proportion, right? Now coming to okay. Chalo, I'll give you one more question. Let's take a inverse proportion. What are inverse proportion? See, before we go with the proportion, now I was thinking what I have to start. Now, when you have proportion, there are two types of proportion. One is what? Direct proportion, and one is what, beta? Indirect proportion. Direct proportion and indirect, yeah, inverse proportion. Inverse proportion, right? What is direct and inverse proportion? So first learn about the direct proportion. Direct proportions we have been doing since long, right? Till now we have been doing the direct proportion only, right? So direct proportion means what? Direct proportion means simple means what? Direct proportion means what? It says that if one quantity increases, the other quantity decreases. Like one quantity increases, the other also increases. That other also increases. Other also increases. And vice versa. Vice versa means what? If I say, for example, let us suppose I bought 10 pens for rupee. I bought 10 pens for rupees 20, right? I bought 10 pens for rupees 20. So what is the cost of one pen? That's rupees 2, right? That's 2. Now if I'm going to buy 50 pens, then the cost will be how much, beta? 100 rupees. So as you have increased the number of the pens, then the price of, or the price you will be paying to the shopkeeper is also increased or not, right? Let us suppose initially you have bought a 10 pens and you have paid 20 rupees. Now you want to buy 5 pens, right? So how much you will be paying? You will be paying only 10 rupees. So as you have decreased the number of the pens, the cost you will be paying to the shopkeeper is also decreased or not, right? So this is known as what, beta? Direct proportion. Direct proportion means what? If the one quantity increases, the other increases. If the one quantity is decreasing, the other quantity also decreases, right? So there are many things in your life that you see that which are in a direct proportion, right? Right. Now, let's do one question. You will understand more of it, right? If I say, if the cost, if the cost of 8 kg of apples is rupees 280, right? Then find the cost of 5 kg of apples, right? Apples. This is what it is given. So you just see that as you see that if the things are in the direct proportion, right? So we see that the ratios are also what, beta? Equal. We say that the ratios are also what? Equal. So basically direct proportions are what we have been doing till now. That is A by B is ratio to what, beta? C ratio D. So can I say that these are what in the kgs? Yes or no? So can I say that the kg upon kg is equals to what? Rupees upon rupees? That's also correct, right? Or you can say that kgs, the kgs ratios will be what? The kgs ratios will be what? This is 8 ratio 5, right? And the rupees ratio is equals to what, beta? Rupees, that is 280 ratio, let's suppose x, right? So if they are in the proportion, right, as we say they are in the proportion, so can I say that 8 by 5 is equals to what? 280 by x? Yes or no? So which is equals to what, beta? 8 into x is equals to 5 into 280, right or not? Right? So x is equals to what? 5 into 280 divided by what, beta? 5 8. Yes or no? So if you just do the cancellation, okay, so yeah, you just do the cancellation. So it is 8 table में, right? Okay, let's see this. So 8 fours are, it's like 140, then it's twos are, then this is what, 75, right? Yeah, so basically this is 8, I don't have board, so this is 5 into 75 divided by what, beta? 2. That's your answer. Yeah, so this is 25, that's 5 to 37 divided by 2, which is equals to what, beta? 167.5. That's your answer. Okay, I need to take a breath, right? I feel like I did some calculation error. Wait a minute, I feel like I did some error. Wait a minute, I'll do the calculation because it's so cumbersome. Just a second, hold on. I think so. It's totally divisible. I did some calculation mistake. It's 280 divided by 8. So 8 ones are and this is what 3s are, and this is like 5s are, right? So x is equals to 35 into 5 is equals to what? 5 into 5 is 25, and this is 175. That's your answer. That was wrong. Okay. Now, see what happened in the direct proportion. This is like one of your example. Now, I'll give you one more example of the direct proportion. See, suppose you have, I'm writing this one thing, right? Suppose the cost of one pen is rupees 10, right? Then the cost of two pens will be how much, beta? 2 into 10, which is rupees what, beta? 20, right? Right? Okay. Now you see the ratios of the pen, right? The ratios of the pen will be what, beta? 1:2, right or not, right? And the ratio of rupees is also what, beta? 10:20, right or not? You see this, both the ratios. Now this is equals to what? 1:2, right or not? That what I was speaking. So you see that both the ratios are what, beta? Equal or not? Yes. So when you have anything in the direct proportion, that the ratios of the one quantity is equals to the ratio of the other quantity, right? Now, what do you mean by the inverse proportion? Now, what is an inverse proportion? When you have two quantity, one is increasing, the other is decreasing. The one is increasing, if one quantity is increasing, the other is decreasing, right? If the one quantity is other, this is increasing, then this one is decreasing. It's not like this direct proportion, both are increasing or both are decreasing, right? Here one increasing, the other decreasing, right? So this is known as what, beta? The inverse proportion, right? So inverse proportion means what? You just see over here, it's written over here, two quantities A and B are said to be in inverse proportion if an increase in the quantity A, there will be a decrease in the quantity B and vice versa. So if you can just see that this is a light, right? So as the distance increases, the brightness decreases or not, right? Yes or no? Or you can say inverse proportion, like if you want to decorate this room, right? If you want to decorate the room in which you are sitting, so if you're going to decorate this room, the time required to decorate the room will be longer. But if you take the help of your friend, like 5 or 6 friends, to decorate this room, so the time required to decorate this room will be what, lesser. So as the number of the person increases, the time to decorate the room what, decreases. As the number of the person decreases, the time to increase the decorate the room is what, increased or not, right? So this is known as what, beta? Inverse proportion. So whenever the questions are given, so generally we are giving you only just hint what is the inverse proportion and what are the direct proportions and how these things are related to the proportions, right? So you just think what it is. So whenever the questions are given, first read it out the question that it is from the direct proportion or this is from the indirect proportion. Indirect proportion questions generally do not ask at the grade 6 and 7, but in the Olympiad sometimes they ask you directly. So please pay attention towards it. And what is the one more thing? I'll go with this thing later on. In the other word, the product of their corresponding value. Now this is a very big term for you, so first let me explain one thing, right? Let me give you one example. Now what is the example? Suppose it says that suppose one man can finish a piece of work, any piece of work in 10 days, right? Then two men can finish finish the same work in how many days, beta? Same work in how many days? 20 days or in half days? One man can complete the decorating this room in 10 days. If you take the help of the two-person, how many days it will be finished? It will be finished in 5 days, or it will be finished in 20 days? It will be finished in 5 days, dear. It will be finished what, beta? 5 days. Obviously, beta, you're going to take the help, so it will be what? Decrease. So this will be what, in 5 days. That's the most important thing. So you see that the ratios of the men, right? What you see, the ratio of the number of men, right? Number of men is what, 1:2, right? And you see the ratios of the work is what, beta? It's 5, it's 10:5 or not, which is equals to what? This is equals to what, 2:1. Now you see that the ratios are reverse. Here the ratios were equal. We said that direct proportions means what? Direct means the two equivalent ratios, right? But when there is an inverse proportion, that things get inverted. If it's like 1/2, it will be transposed to what beta 2/1. So you see that it means what? As the number of the men's increases, the number of the like to complete the finish of the days will be what? Lesser and lesser, right? So you just see one thing that if you just see now, what does this mean? The product of their corresponding value should remain the same, and sometimes it is known as what? Beta inverse variation. So just given close observation, I think so it's too much for you, but try to understand, right? So just see this. If you're going to multiply 10, oh, color didn't change. Wait, let me change the color. Okay, just take this and this. 1 into 10. Now you have to go with the same, right? 1 men, 10 days. That you are going to multiply. So this is equals to what? If you're going to multiply this into this will be what? 1 into 10, right? And if you're going to multiply this into this, that is 2 into 5, which is equals to what? 10. That is what it is talking about. The product remains the same. There, the product of the extreme is equals to the product of the means because they were in the equivalent ratios. But here, what happened? The ratios get inverted, and what inverted ratios means what? You this into this is equals to this into this, right? Because the ratios of the men to the work, that is men into work is equals to what beta? Men into work, right? Men into work. This is what it is, right? So I think so this is very much clear. If one is increasing, the other decreases, the other increases, this thing decreases, right? So this is what is known as what beta? Inverse proportion. I'll give you one question on this. Let's do one question, right? It says that if 12 men complete a piece of work in 20 days, right? In how many days would 15 men complete the same work? Right. Now, first read out the question. What it is talking about? Is it talking about the direct proportion or is it talking about the inverse proportion? So it says that 12 men can complete the piece of work in 20 days. As you increase the number of the worker to finish the task, it will require less number of the days or not. So this is what an inverse. This one is what beta? Inverse proportion, right? Proportion. Now, let's take the ratios of the men. So, ratio of men is what? Ratios of men will be what beta? It is 12 men to complete a piece of work in 20 days. And how many days would 15 men would complete the same work? So, this is what beta? 12 ratio 15, right? Now, the ratio of work, like ratios of days will be what beta? 20 ratio x, and you don't know this. As I told you, as we have learned over there, the product remains the same. That is, the ratios of the men into the ratios of the days will remain the same. So can I say that can I say that um, can I say that this product is equals to what beta? That product. But what happened into the direct proportion? If you talk about the direct proportion inverse, like this is like you do the cross multiply, right? You do the cross multiply. You multiply this into this. Like these two are like product equal, these two products are equal, right? But what happened in the inverse proportion? Inverse proportion, it means what? You have to do like this and like this. So it means what? You say this, the men in today's is equals to what? Men in today's? Yes or no? So this is equals to what? 12 into 20 is equals to 15 into x, right? So x is equals to what? 12 into 20 by 15 is equals to x. Now do the cancellation. This is like 4, this is like 3, this is 1, and this is like 4. So x is equals to what? 16. 16 days. That's your answer. Right? So ratios of the men is equals to what? Ratios of the number of the days, right? Okay, let's coming to the unitary method, right? So unitary method will be where there will be unitary method. So in your syllabus, there's a unitary method only for your like say about like only for direct, only for direct proportion. Inverse proportion we do not discuss, right? But I would like to tell you like how this unitary method works for like both the numbers, like for the inverse and for the direct, right? So what happens over here, just see the example. So what happened, like if I say the cost of 10 pen is rupees 20, then what is the cost of one pen? The cost of one pen is what, beta? 2 rupees, right? So 20 divided by 10, that's 2 rupees, right? So if I say one man can finish a piece of work in like 10 days, then two men can finish a piece of work in how many days? 5 days, right? So if I say one man can finish a piece of work in 10 days, then four men can finish the same work in how many days? Like 10 divided by, like, it will be what, beta? 4. So it will be what? 2.5, like 2.5 days, right? So you have to go in this way, right? So what happened? I'll be explaining you for the direct and as well as for the inverse. So let's go for the direct. What is the direct? So what is the unitary method? Now just we'll go with the unitary method. So it says that will find the unit. Unitary method means what? Will find the value of one thing. Like what is the cost of one thing? And then if you want to, like, if I know the cost of this one single pen is rupees 10, then I'll know what is the cost of 10 pens. Similar like 10 pens, right? I know if I say I can, like, I know if I know that one man can finish in decorating this room in like 10 days, then I'll know in how many days like 15 men or 20 men can finish the work. So this thing is very much relatable to what your day-to-day life, and you take such decisions while you do something because you don't care it because you're in grade 6. But when your father and mother like start some job, or maybe like they want to renovate, let's take they do the if let us suppose you take an example, they want to renovate the room, right? So for the renovation of the room, what they will be do, they'll go and ask in how many days you're going to complete the work, how long, how many employees will be there, and this and that, right? So these are the things which has been used in day-to-day life, and we don't realize it, but we used it, right? As we said, in the data handling, we have been doing the data handling, like collections of the data like since forever, and the same thing we have been doing forever, right? So let's do this, how the things are. So let's take an example how first we'll talk about the direct, right? So first we'll talk about the direct proportion, right? So unitary method, this is for the CBSE, and the next one will be for your the competitive part, right? So it says that the cost of 5 pen is rupees 100, right? So the cost of one pen will be how much, beta? Is 100 divided by 2 5? Yes or no? So it is what, rupees 20, right? So 20 is the value of cost of one pen. Or if I say, then this is known as what? So similarly, if I say, now, if I say the cost of 2 pens, now if I say cost of 5 pens, so cost of 5 pens will be what, beta? 5 into 10. 5 is already taken. I'll say cost of 15 pen will be what? 15 into 20, which is equals to what? 300 rupees that you will be paying, right? If you know the value, what is the like unit value? This is called unit value. This is called unit value. This is called, beta, unit value, right? This is called unit value. What is the unit value of the pen? Like one pen ka cost kya hai? That's the thing, right? So now let's coming to the inverse proportion. How we do this with the inverse proportion? So you see that as the number of the pen are there, this is the cost. If you see, as you decrease the number of the pens, the cost also decreases. As you increase the number of the pen, the cost also increases. So this is what we a direct proportion. One increases, the other increases. One decreases, the other decreases. That's known as what, direct proportion. Now let's talk about the inverse proportion, right? Right. So I'll give you an example. To have, suppose 6 men finish a piece of work in 5 days. So how, like, one man will finish in how many days, right? Then one man can finish the same work in how many days, beta? In how many days? This is your answer. 6 men. 6 person is doing to decorate a room in 5 days. तो एक आदमी कितने दिन में काम करेगा बेटा? One man will finish the same work into what? 5 into 6, that's 35 or not? 30 days or not? So it will be what? 6 into 5, that is, which is equals to what? 30 days, right? So 2 men can finish the same work in how many days? In how many days? So your answer will be what? So if like one man can finish in 30 days, then 2 men can finish in how many days? Beta 30 divided by 2, which is equals to what? 15 days? Yes or no? Now if I say how many 5 men can finish the same work in how many days? 5 men can finish the same work in how many days? Same work in how many days? So which is equals to what? 30 divided by 5, which is equals to what? In 6 days, right or not? Yes. So what happened if the such type of question is there? We find out the value of the one man, like one man can finish in how many days, or cost of the one pen, cost of the one man. So first you see what is the question, whether it's talking about the direct, it's talking about the inverse. As the number of the men increases, the number of the days increases, right? So one is increasing, the other increasing, that's inverse. 2 men and then this. So you see, as you're increasing the number of the workers, the number of the days is decreasing, right? So this is known as what, beta? Inverse. Uh, Direct, right? So let's do one question on this. Okay. It says that a man pays rupees 525 for income tax, right? At the rate of rupees 2 per rupees 100. Find his income, right? So this is the question. Okay. It says that a man pays rupees this much for the income tax, right? This much he is paying as income tax at the rate of rupees 2 for 100. So it means what? For every 100 rupees, he is paying 2 rupees. Yes. So for every 1 rupees, what he'll do? For every 1 rupees, how much rupees that, like for 100 rupees, he is paying 2 rupees, right? So for rupees 1, like how much tax, like how much money will be there, right? So how you will be writing this? For rupees 2, the tax for the income is rupees how much, beta? Rupees 100, right? Now, so like rupees 1, like एक रुपए के लिए बेटा कितना वो income tax, मतलब कितने रुपए पे, like for 100 rupees, for every 100 rupees of the income he is earning, he is giving 2 rupees tax. Let's suppose. So let us suppose if my income is 1000 rupees, so how much tax I will be bearing? So every 100 2 रुपए मैं दे रही हूँ. So for, if I'm like if I have my salary of like rupees 1000, so how much I'll be paying? Like I'll be paying 10 rupees, yes or no? 100 rupees के लिए 2, 200 rupees के लिए 4, 300 rupees के लिए 6, then 400 rupees के लिए 8, right? So what I'll be finding out, for rupees 1, the tax for the income is rupees how much, beta? Rupees 2, which is equals to what? Rupees 50. So her 50 rupees के लिए you're giving how much, beta? For her 50 rupees के लिए you're giving 1 rupees. As you earn 50 rupees, you're giving 1 rupees to the government, right? So how much tax you have paid? You have paid how much tax, right? So it means what? Rupees 525, this was the tax, right? So 525 के लिए the tax, that is the income, that is the, for rupees, this is the tax which you have paid. Tax for the income kitna ho jayega? For the income will be how much, beta? This will be what? 50 into what? 525 or not? Yes. Har 1 rupaye ke liye you are paying rupee is the tax. This is the tax for the income, right? So your income will be how much, beta? This is your income. So this is equals to what? To multiply, this is 10, 25, it's like 25, 2, 12, 12 ka 1, and this is 2, 6, this is 26,500, like 26,250 rupees, that is your income, right? That's your income. So it means what? Agar if you are earning 100 rupees, 2 रुपए तुमने क्या दे दिया? You gave 2 rupees as a tax. Now, 1 rupee पे बेटा कितना रुपए, like for how much earning you will be paying 1 rupee as a tax. So हर 50 rupees के लिए you gave 1 rupee as a tax. How much tax you have paid? You have paid 525. So it means what? 1 rupee के लिए you are paying like for every 50 rupees you are paying 1 rupee as a tax. So for that, like how much income you're going to pay? Like 525. So this is like you can do like this. That is 1 upon 200, like 525 is equals to what beta? 50 upon like x. You can do like this. The product of the means is equals to product of the extremes. You can go like that also, right? Choice is yours. Like in the both way, you will get the same answer. Okay, I'll give you one more question. That's I think so. See, it says that 7 workers build a wall in 20 days, right? How many more workers should be employed to build it in 14 days, right? Okay, first it says that 7 workers can build in 20 days. He has to build a wall. So if you're going to increase the number of the workers, it has to what? The number of the days will be decreased. So this is what beta? Inverse, right or not? This one is what? Inverse. So it says that 7 worker build in how many days? Build in 20 days, like build in 20 days. So one worker build wall, one worker build, like we just now we did, build wall in how many days, beta? Build wall in how many days? It will build into what? 7 into 20 days? Yes or no? Right? Which is equals to what, beta? 140 days. Right? Now it says that how many more workers should be employed to build in the what 14 days? Right? So instead of taking this, instead of taking one worker because it's given 14 days, so what I'll go in the reverse way. So instead of going, see, this is like the catch point. So it's 14 is given, so we'll take it out in one day how much work will be done, like in one day how much work will be done. So how this is, will be writing like this. So it says that 7 worker can build in this much, so in one day mein kitna kaam ho jayega, one day how much work will be done, right? So this is the catch point. You have to read out the question, what the question says, and then you proceed it, right? Okay. In 14 days, 20 days. So one day work will be how much beta? One day work will be what beta? One day में कितना काम हो जाएगा? 20 into 7 work done, right? That is one day. एक दिन में कितना wall will be built? It will be 20 into 7 wall will be built, right? That is equals to what? Work or the wall build. A wall build, right? That is 140, right? One day. So in 14 days, 14 days mein how much wall will be built beta? In 14 days work will be how much beta? The 14 days work will be what? 20 into 7 divided by what beta? 14 or not? This much built or not? Ek din mein if you're building like this 20 into 7, yes, so this much will be built, yes or no? Build a wall. So this is equals to, do the cancellation, this is 1, this is 2, this is 1, and this is 10. So this is equals to what? 10. See over here. One day may what? 20 into 7 worker build the wall, right? 140, like if you are going to build the same thing in 140 workers will be required to do that same task in for 1 days, right? Now you want to complete the task in the what beta? 14 days. So how many workers will be required? You will be required workers build the wall will be how much beta? 10 workers. You will be required how much beta? 10 workers. This is all, right? Or you can do like this also, like this. Workers, what are the worker ratios, right? So worker and like these are the days. So worker ratios, you don't know, this is 7 and this is like days. They completed in 20 days. And this is ratio, and this is like This workers you don't know and you know the dates, right? So I told you multiply this into this, right? So 7 into 20 is equals to what, beta? X into 14. So this is what, 7 into 20. If you get confusion, so this is 14, which is equals to X. So you do the calculation. This is 1 and this is 2, this is 10. So X is equals to what? 10. Now it says that how many more workers are required. So initially there were what, 7, and now there are what, 10s, right? So more worker will be how much, beta? The more worker required is equals to 10 minus of 7, which is equals to 3 workers. Right? So you can just think like what it is given. Like it says that 7 build workers can build in 20 days. So it is given like in how many days you're going to build. So it says that in one day, agar if you want to build a wall, how many workers will be required to build? You will be required 140 workers or not. You will be requiring what, beta? 140 workers to build the same wall. Now, if you want to finish the same task in how many days? 14 days. So how many workers will be required? 10 workers will be required. So initially, kitte workers say 7. Now, how many more are required? Like there are 3. So that's your answer. Okay, so these are your homeworks. We can just do it a little bit fast also. It says that the two numbers are in the ratio 2:3, and the sum of the number is this. So we did this. So like it's divided, like 60 divided into how many parts? 5 parts. So 5 parts is equals to how much, beta? 5 parts is equals to what? 60. So one part is equals to how much, beta? 60 divided by 5, which is equals to 12, right? So two numbers. So number one will be how much? Number one is equals to what? Two parts, right? Two parts, which is equals to what? 2 into 12, which is equals to 24, right? Like first number. And what is your second number? Second number is equals to what? Three parts. Yes. So which is equals to what? 3 into 12, which is equals to what? 36, right? So now this is the B part. Let's do the second question. Second question says that Avinish works as a lecturer and earns 12,000 per month, and his wife, who's a doctor, who earns 15,000 per month. Find the following ratios. Avinash incomes to his wife. So what is the A part? Avinash income is how much, beta? 12,000. Upon his wife income is what? 15,000. You do the cancellation. So this is equals to what? 3:5. 4:5. Not 3, 4:5. Right? So you write 4:5. Now, Avinash income to his total income, right? To their total income. So their total income is how much, beta? Okay, I'll do the B part over here. I think so it's written. So the total income is what? 12,000 plus 15,000, which is equals to what? 12,000 divided by what, beta? 27,000, right? So this and this cancels. So this is equals to 4 by 9, which is equals to 4:9. That's it. So out of there, like total income, the 4 part is like the Avinash part, and the 9 as the total of their income, right? So hopefully, beta, you have understood. This was a very, 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 very big lecture. Please try to understand the inverse proportion concept. And if you have any doubt, please ask it on the PDF, and you can ask it on the with your respective teacher in the class. And one more thing, inverse proportion is a little bit tough. So please try to understand the stuff. And hopefully I made it very clear in the session. And today in the class, we have discussed about what direct proportions, the direct proportions, first we discuss about the proportions, then we have discussed about the rates. Rate means what? You have to compare the two quantities, which is of the different unit, right? You want to compare the kilometers with the hours. That's the rates, right? And then we have learned about the proportions, which has been divided into what? Direct proportion and inverse proportion. And then we did the questions on it. And then we did the unitary method. And then we have done the questions on it. So hopefully you have understood the class. Thank you so much, and stay well, stay safe. Thank you. Bye-bye.